was one of those that was more of a numbing factor. It wasn't until really I got sober that I took into account both suicides that happened in my life and really took kind of, you know, sat back and reflected on them and go, okay, you know, let's relax here for a little bit and realize really what happened.
Hey guys, Derek here. I got a special treat for you guys. Eric from Dr1ven Industries. If you don't know who he is, check out his YouTube channel in the description. He is an advocate for mental health as well as recovery. He has a heck of a story. You don't want to miss it. And he kind of takes you through a little bit of a horror of his life as well as how it is today. And that one thing I love about his channel and what he does is he says it's okay not to be okay. Sometimes we're not okay. And I love that. I know it's a cliche. I know a lot of you might go, oh, well, but I promise you that chant does come true and it begins to manifest itself in your life as you start thinking about it, because it's not always good. So listen to this story. I hope you guys enjoy. Like and subscribe to his channel. If you like what I'm putting out here, like and subscribe here. Love you guys. Stay tuned. Here we are. Was life hard for you growing up, or was it a good life?
No, so growing up, my dad was a doctor. He's a general practitioner. He's a DO. So I kind of grew up a pretty decent life. You know, he worked a lot, so I didn't really have a dad participating in my life a whole lot, but he was always there. More or less raised by my mom. I lived in a small town. It was Charlotte, Michigan. It's about 20 miles south of Lansing, which is the capital of Michigan, and not a huge population. I mean, my school wasn't a huge school. Everybody knew everybody there. It was great growing up, though. I mean, I didn't have a whole lot of issues in my childhood. There was no real big traumatic experiences or anything like that that really happened as a kid. Really participative in a lot of sports and activities. And just growing up, I mean, I couldn't have asked for, you know, a better childhood than what I ended up having. Just, you know, what goes on in your head kind of screws that up later on down the road a little bit. And it has nothing to do, even in some sense, that I don't think with your childhood per se. You know, I got all A's. You know, I didn't really enjoy school a whole lot. I love sports though. Graduated top of my class. Could have went to college with no problem and graduated with any degree I wanted, but again, I just didn't enjoy school, so I was out.
If childhood was so well, what the hell happened? I mean, do you remember and can you explain like a little bit of the process into, if you will, the depths of hell?
I mean, I probably right around 14 is the first time I tried drinking, and I didn't really enjoy it a whole lot. I didn't think it tasted good or anything like that. Right around 16, 17, for whatever reason, I don't know if it was I wanted to fit in, started smoking, started drinking. And, you know, even as a kid, I should have probably realized that there was a fucking issue, because, I mean, I can remember in class literally passing out because I drank too much during a lunch break. And like waking up and still the class is going on. I was an athlete, so nothing ever really happened to me, but I'm like drooling on the desk. I have a drama teacher. At one time I went into her room and I passed out literally and slept like 3 classes behind her desk. And because I was in advanced drama and all this other stuff and they didn't want to ruin any school plays, like no one ever said shit. So I got away with it all. And so it was like a great way to numb all the, you know, just anything and everything. And as a kid, you know, we do make shit up in our life that's like super difficult. Looking back, I'm like, I wish I would have enjoyed it a lot more. But, you know, at the time it was like, oh, I'm going through hell, and then all of a sudden I found this escape, and it was cool to be able to drink, and then if you drink, you know, the chicks thought you were cool, and everyone thought you were cool, so it was like a cool thing to do, you know, and that's where it kind of just started from, and then it just didn't stop.
So you always, like, from high school, when you started doing this, like you never stopped, or did you ever have periods where you had long periods of like sobriety, if you will, somewhat? Or?
I would have kind of periods, but maybe like a couple months. You know, once I got into college, I wasn't drinking every day, but I would definitely drink like on the weekends or a little bit throughout the week. I mean, you're underage, so you're trying to find a buyer. I mean, the thing that really hit it the worst though is, you know, I got engaged when I was like almost 19. And I was engaged to a girl that was 21, so she could buy for me. And so now all of a sudden I had easy access to alcohol anytime I wanted to, and she had no problem buying it for me. And so it enabled me to just keep drinking. And then after I left Michigan and dropped out of college and went down to Florida to try and just, because I hated school, my parents put so much pressure on school, like you had to go to school, you had to get a degree, you had to be successful that way. That was the only way to be successful. Moved down to Florida, and then it turned into kind of like drinking pretty much every day. And it wasn't a whole lot every day, not to where I'd black out or anything, but yeah, I'd have a couple beers every day. And I wasn't really into shots or anything like that, and we made wine. We had beehives and stuff, so I'd drink the wine that we would make, and that has a high alcohol content, and so I never really thought twice about it. It just kind of became a normal part of life, is I would just drink. And then there eventually just started getting worse and worse and worse, and I mean, to the point that I'm like puking out of like limo windows and stuff like that. Because I would drink too much, or we'd go to a club and I'd like pretty much pass out because I drank too much. But I wasn't alcoholic at all, no.
Of course not.
I had that shit under control, you know. I got this.
So when did drugs play a part?
Drugs really didn't play a part in much of it. I mean, when I was in high school, I experimented and did a lot with acid, and I did, you know, I'd smoke weed and shit, but it was never like a huge like fascination of mine. Mine was so much drinking that it wasn't really until my first divorce, when I was going through that I really learned what cocaine was. And then all of a sudden I really liked cocaine. And I never went anything harder because, like, even where I lived in San Diego when I was getting my divorce, you know, heroin instantly triggered in my head that I had to have a needle. Well, I'm deathly afraid of needles. Like, no, like to the point, like I've shattered my hand before. And when I shattered my hand, I screamed more with the idea of getting, and they didn't even stick me yet. I screamed more with the idea and them showing me the needle of that going into my hand than I did it breaking and shattering my hand. That's how afraid of needles I was. So like heroin never ever crossed my path of like anything I wanted to try, because the only way I thought you could do heroin is by shooting it up, and I'm like, fuck needles, dude, fuck that. I don't care how good the high is, I can't do a needle. And popping pills never registered with me because my dad was a doctor, and so medicine was meant to heal. Like, you didn't get high off of medicine. Like, it was something in my brain that wasn't a concept to me. Like, even with my adderal, I take my adderal to help me. Like, why would you take that to try and get high? It won't get you high, it helps you. So it was kind of like my growing up that really phased what drugs I did. I mean, when it came to drugs, I mean, the only drugs I ever really did, I did microdose, which was like MDMH or whatever. I did a lot of acid. Did a lot of coke, and then I did meth 3 times. The only reason I ever did meth was because people would grind it up and lay it out, and I thought it was coke, and I would snort it, and then it felt like I just took a bunch of glass shards and just shoved them down my nose and just fucking totally tore my whole insides out. So, I mean, those were really the only drugs that I ended up doing. Everything else I just stayed away from because more of like a fear, because it had something else in my head that it was like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. I mean, like crack, wouldn't smoke crack because I didn't like the concept of like smoking something like that, and like it shouldn't be a smoke that you put into your lungs, even though I'm a smoker. Like, I have no problem smoking cigarettes, but crack, no. Heroin, no. Like, that shouldn't be a vapor that I ingest.
Right.
And it was just, it's in my brain that way. Like, I get where it comes from only from the addiction side, but if someone was like, hey, here's some heroin, do you want some? Like, I would not be triggered or anything. I'd just be like, yeah, no. Like, I'm out. Like, I'd like probably poke at it and shit, because like I'd want to like look at it from like that kind of standpoint. But like, if someone's like, you want to do it, I'd be like, fuck no, dude. And plus now I know what it does to you and what it can, but you know, that was the thing. And then first time I did coke, it was like, dude, this is great. Like, I can balance out my drinking with this. Like, all of a sudden I felt sober, and all of a sudden I could drink a ton, and I love drinking. So it was like, wow, these two go hand in hand. If I get too close to passing out, I'll just do a couple lines, and I can keep drinking and partying on the whole night. So that's where that really came into play.
It's obviously dangerous, because you can alcohol poisoning even worse that way. At what point in this whole journey did you realize, okay, well, I don't know if I'm going ahead of some of your stuff that I'd like for you to touch on, but at what point did you realize, whoa, this isn't just, oh, I have a little problem? I'm sure you already realized that when you're puking and passing out and stuff, but at what point did you go, I need help? And then maybe we could delve into some traumatic experiences as you know, later down the road or something.
I knew I had a problem for a while, but I was like okay with my problem. Like, I was totally cool with the concept of being a functioning alcoholic. Like, I had no problem with that, especially when what I'm doing. And I would make fun about it. I mean, I had no problem, you know, telling people, yeah, I drink a 30-pack a night. And they'd be like, damn, dude, you're like an alcoholic. And I'd be like, yeah, I'm a functioning one. Like, I was almost proud of it. It was like, here's my badge. Like, yeah, I'm a functioning alcoholic, motherfucker. And you know what? I got a great job, and I still go to work, and I fucking perform. And it wasn't really until I knew that people needed help or that there was really a danger to it until my wife, who ended up taking her life, she had stopped eating and was to the point that she was just drinking. And it got so bad that we had to take her to get an MRI, and she had this, she came down with something called wernicke's, which literally the carbs and everything and alcohol block a lot of the vitamins from hitting her brain, and her brain was literally shutting down from alcohol. And to the point that she didn't know what day it was. Like, I could go to work and come back home after a 13-hour day, and she would think like I just woke up or something and have no idea the time and place that she was. And we didn't know it was wrong until I took her for an MRI, and they're like, dude, you got to take her to the emergency room, something's wrong. And that's when it kind of connected to me of, shit, there is a problem here, because we were both raging alcoholics. And it was funny to us. I mean, we would go buy the cheap beer, not because it was cheap, because it had the higher alcohol content. I mean, that's what we cared about, was getting fucked up. It had nothing to do with anything else but that. And so watching all this start to happen, I knew that there was an issue. But even then, like, I wasn't ready to quit. You know, I went to AA 2 different times. And the first time it was supposed to save my marriage, it didn't save my marriage, so AA doesn't fucking work. This program is bullshit. It doesn't work because I'm reading these stories in the back of the big book on how everything is fixed and life becomes great again, and my life wasn't getting fixed. So I was, fuck AA, and I was done. The second time I went wasn't really for me. It was, I had a friend who wanted to go to AA, and I was like, yeah, I'll go with you. Because I knew I had a problem. I was fine with my problem, and that was part of the problem. I mean, I would go, and I'd even talk and stuff, and I was sober for a period of time and getting my chips. But I wasn't quitting because I really wanted to quit. I was more or less quitting because, yeah, I want to kind of see what this program's all about. I didn't give it a fair shot the first time. And because I wasn't really passionate about it, you know, it just kind of trailed off after about 3 months. And I just went right back to drinking. It was really hard, too, because I was with my wife at the time who was an alcoholic. That, you know, I'm coming home nonstop and she's drinking. And then all of a sudden you just keep remembering the fun times. Not the bad times, the fun times you had while drinking and stuff. And eventually I just went back to drinking a ton. And it wasn't until, you know, July 7th, the 25th, or no, it was July the 25th, 2017, of when I realized that I had a fucking issue and, like, I needed it to stop. And then I finally took my sobriety seriously, and I did it for me and nobody else this time. I mean, the first time I did it, I really did it to try and save a marriage. The second time I did it, I was just kind of curious about it. And, you know, the third time I did it was for me. I'd quit in between there, but I'd quit in there, you know, because someone would, like, my wife would tell me I'm getting fat. So I'd quit drinking because I knew all the carbs and stuff, and I'm looking up how many calories are in a shot of Fireball, and I'm going, okay, so that fifth of Fireball I drank is like me eating like 20 fucking Big Macs, so that's why I'm fat. So I would stop drinking solely for, like, purposes of, like, I mean, at one point I was like almost 300 pounds. I mean, that's like 60 pounds heavier than what I am right now. And so it was like, okay, you know, I want to get skinny again, not because, hey, guess what, you're destroying your life. It was nothing to do with that. Until finally that I got to the point that I was like, dude, I'm fucking up my life. I have to stop this for, like, life reasons.
Did you begin to stop, or the last time, your wife had already passed by then, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe you can delve into a little of that trauma. Did that play any part in you wanting to dig deeper into the alcohol to escape?
I think it just, I dug into the alcohol more just to numb it. I didn't acknowledge what was really happening. And it was kind of fucked up, period, because her and I had been separated for a while. I was... Tell
them how she, like, what happened, because I don't think they know.
So my wife, she took her life. So my wife and I, I've been married a couple times. I'm not a marriage therapist, counselor, anything like that. Like, I'm the worst person to talk to about that. But, so my wife and I, it was my third wife, by the way, were separated at the time. And we got separated because we were so codependent. I wanted her to get help because of what happened with the whole MRI. And around me, I just enabled it with her. So I took her to Arizona. We separated. I ended up filing for divorce. We were still separated. The divorce wasn't finalized. And her and I still talked. Like, we were really good friends. Like, we got along in really good areas. And I literally thought that she was getting sober out there. Found out later on that she wasn't really, like, cleaning up much at all. And just was sinking further into depression. And then her mom also kind of helped out. I mean, they were all on Xanax and stuff for, you know, anxiety reasons or whatever. But then when's enough almost on that. And, you know, we had separated. We had almost been separated a year. I mean, I was actually dating my wife now at that point because I'd been single for a little bit, and her and I started talking. And I always kind of held up hope that she would just kind of turn around and it would get better for her, because she was a good human being. She was a really good person and had a really good soul. But I ended up getting a call, on the 27th of August, right after, about 10 days after my birthday, of the Yuma Sheriff's Department just telling me that, hey, we found your wife and she's dead. So I ended up driving to Yuma. My wife now is very supportive, but I mean, I was so fucked up at that time and used it to numb it. I mean, I'm drinking on the way to Yuma. Like, Yuma, from Orange County to Yuma is a 4-hour drive, and literally I would leave early, so it'd be like 4:30, 5 o'clock, I'd be at the gas station filling up, and I'd grab like 4 tall cans, and I'd be drinking those on the way to Yuma. And then I'd get there, and then I'd just get fucked up after I did all the cop stuff. So it kind of just helped me numb through the whole process, and I never really took it in or grieved or anything. And I even had some people that were close friends of mine going, dude, you like need to grieve about this. And it's like, fuck you, don't control me, it's mine, you don't understand what I'm going through. Yeah, they didn't understand what I was going through, but they were actually trying to be real friends, saying, dude, like, you need to accept and acknowledge what happened. And I really didn't. I mean, even at the wake that we had for her, I mean, I ended up getting completely fucked up, and I told her whole family to go fuck themselves. Because I didn't agree with how they didn't help her in any sense. And I didn't help her any better, so it's nowhere my right to blame anyone else. But at the time, I mean, when I drank, I'd get very angry. I'd get real aggressive. So, I mean, it was one of those that was more of a numbing factor. It wasn't until really I got sober that I took into account both suicides that had happened in my life, and really took kind of, you know, sat back and reflected on them and go, okay, you know, let's relax here for a little bit and realize really what happened. Because it was something I never really did with her. I just kind of was like a bleep on the map a little bit. It was sad, but I was drinking so much that there was no time to really digest what was still floating in written space in the back of my head. And I mean, that's when even then the drinking even picked up more and more. And I just refused to stop, you know, unless my wife now would tell me I was getting fat, and then I'd quit for a couple months, and then I'd go right back to drinking. And then, because even when she passed, she had barricaded herself in a hotel room, and she died by asphyxiation. So she literally put a bag over her head and tied a knot. And it took her 3 tries, because they found 2 bags that were ripped open in the trash. And it was really well thought out. I mean, she had it thought out to the point that she was in different clothes than what she wanted to be buried in, that were all, or cremated in, that were all set aside with a note on it. I mean, everything was note and laid out. I mean, this wasn't something of, hey, I'm going to do this right now, boom, it's done. No, like, she had this all planned out. Down to different notes for different people, to even a letter to the police saying, call him, here's my husband's number, call him. If he doesn't pick up on your phone, try my phone, he'll pick up for that phone. I mean, she had it that thought out. And then it wasn't until even after that, 2 years later, that I finally decided I had to get sober, and it was just because everything was falling apart around me. I mean, I was the master of fucking up my life.
So you hit what would technically be called a bottom in your own experience. And so one thing I love about you is it's okay not to be okay. And I've taken that. That's like the thing of Eric, and that's good. Right. Dr1ven Industries, it's okay to be not okay. Let's go under the bright side, because you said it, you know, your father took his life. We don't even necessarily have to go into that detail, into much detail. We do know that happened. We know what happened with your wife. And we know that you just had a really rough time, and alcohol is a downer anyway, so now you're even down and down, down. Let's go up. Talk about the light. Let's talk about what it's like now. What did you do to get sober and stay sober today, and what is it like?
I had to hit just that rock bottom point that it was for me. Like, I had to decide. I mean, I was drunk crying in bed when I decided I wanted to get sober. And the next day I stopped drinking. I haven't drank since. And it wasn't easy. I mean, I was doing it for me, and I felt a little bad at first because I was like, I'm being selfish. I was scared as fuck because of all these fucking skeletons in my closet that I knew were going to be coming out. Very anxious. I mean, my physical detox, because I was drinking about 3/5 a day, my physical detox, though, only lasted for maybe 2-3 weeks. My mental detox lasted for probably 2-3 months. Which was a whole completely different story. But it slowly started getting better, and everything is always now like fallen into place. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of times where I look back even, and in one sense I was like more successful career-wise drinking than I am sober-wise. because it was so much about me protecting my addiction then and fueling it and having money for it than it is now. Like, I don't have that, and I want to enjoy life a lot more. So it's a different experience, but I will say this, like, I wouldn't trade it. I mean, I wouldn't trade the months that I struggle even financially for what I had back then, just because I get to actually enjoy life. Like, I get to go out and I get to remember every day. I get to, you know, have conversations with my wife that I remember the night before. I remember the conversation that we had, you know, days ago, where then I had no fucking idea. You know, I don't have any mental breakdowns anymore. I'm a lot more mellow than what I was. Not so sporadic, not so spontaneous. Think things through a lot more, and just my whole benefit of life is 100 times better. And it doesn't, I mean, I think everybody ties better into just like everything has to be better. And no, not everything is better. But, you know, my life now, I wake up and I'm happy. Like, it's good. Like, hey, life is good right now. Where then I would wake up, and yeah, parts of my life were good, parts of my life were terrible. And I just have a lot more balance when it comes to it now. Of like, hey, I'm going to make it through the day. I know what I'm going to be doing today. I'm not going to jeopardize anybody's career or future or lives or anything when it comes to that, because I don't drink and drive anymore, and I used to nonstop. So, I mean, there's a lot of benefits that have come to being sober, and it's one of those that I've been able to do a lot more with my life, just, you know, inner joy-wise than anything else. And now actually be able to help other people instead of just being a selfish dick.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it, man. All right, hope you guys enjoyed that. Go over to his channel, Dr1ven Industries, and that I in the Driven is a 1. But check out the description. You guys can just click the link. It'll take you right over there. He has tons of material. He continues to put out. He stays straight connected with all his people all the time. And you guys can get connected with him as well. And that's Eric over at Dr1ven Industries. Love you guys.